Well, I picked up 10 nuts today, and I'm hoping these will be the right size. Let's go find out. So what I did is I tried to make an effort to get these Torx bits out, and over the years, of course, these have all been like rusted in there, and of course the paint in it, that helps seal them in there as well. But I tried to get it out there, stuck a Torx in there and hit on it with a hammer, tried to break it free and everything else, and it just ended up stripping out. So what I'm going to do is, I bought these nuts, and I'm going to drill out this part of the center here, so I get the weld in deep so it'll transfer the heat all the way down. And then once it's got the nut welded on, I'm hoping I can be able to just to pull these out without damaging it on the inside, because that's where my light bar is going to go, or my window light mount's going to end up going with my KC lights I'm going to do. And another thing I'm hoping to get to tomorrow is that these are the splicer U-joints to rebuild the front drive shafts. That's something else I'm going to be working on. Alright, today's Saturday. I'm just working in the garage, gonna crack open a beer here. I did some things last night, but didn't do any filming because just a bunch of small things, and today's gonna be a bunch of small things that you don't really see, but cold beer and a cold day. But we're gonna talk about some things today. I know some people, when I did my Morris 4x4 unboxing, they were talking about the dual shock system. You don't really need them because it may cause more trouble and your power steering is going to heat up. And I'm going to talk about every time you modify a vehicle outside what it's designed for, you're always going to have issues. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, for example, if you put larger tires on, not only do you change your gear ratio, you're also putting extra stress on your axles, you're putting extra stress on your transfer case, your transmission, and your engine trying to push those tires unless you put the gears on. And of course, something like that too, you're going to have problems possibly with heating up because your engine's working harder. Same with the power steering. Even though you put larger tires on it, that's going to cause extra wear. Putting the dual shock system on it, that might make it a little bit tighter to steer as well. That might put extra wear and cause it to heat up. But there's ways to get around all that. And one of those ways to get around is, see, most vehicles, I don't know why the Jeep doesn't have it, has a power steering cooler. I mean, $30 put in a cooler, you're not going to have that issue. Same with your trans. If you have an automatic transmission and it's heating up and your factory rad isn't doing it, you get an aftermarket cooler to put on with a fan that comes on at a certain temperature. Basically, to put it into perspective, I know a lot of people are giving me grief, like, why are you wasting your money on the Dana 35? Why don't you get a Dana 44? It's so much better. The Dana 35 is junk. It's just going to break, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? There may be a lot of truth behind that. Trying to find a Dana 44 axle and trying to do that, trying to buy the axles and buy everything else to do it, is just a waste of time. Basically, let's say this ratchet is your stock Dana 35 axle with your stock tires, and sure, it's designed for that, but now all of a sudden you're gonna put larger tires on. So let's put larger tires. This is about the torque that's given on the differential now. Of course, larger tires, a lot more torque that's going to be given. There's going to be a lot more stress, but you can compensate for that a lot of ways. A lot of people talk about in the Dana 35 axle, the carrier brakes. A lot of time the axle stab shafts break. A lot of time the axles snap, and all those things are very common, but you can get away with that. I know I went with the Detroit True Track, but I can only get it in a 27 spline. I would have liked to get it in a 30 spline, but unfortunately I couldn't find it in that. I don't know if they make it in a 30 spline or not. So I've already replaced, well, I haven't yet, but I'm going to replace the diff, so that's going to make it a little bit stronger. And I hope to get new axles too, even though they're only 27 spline, but they're designed a little bit better, a little bit stronger. And that's going to compensate. But a lot of things break because of misuse and mishandling and being too hard on things. Like, obviously, if you're out in the mud and something, you got your foot on the fucking throttle and it catches and something breaks, you can't blame it on whatever part that breaks that broke. You gotta blame it on yourself and the way it broke. Because if you get in, if you're stuck and you know you're not getting fucking out, like, as soon as your vehicle, even if you're in a quad, as soon as your vehicle starts hopping, shit's gonna start breaking. That's plain and simple. I've been down that road. I had an 88 Bronco 2 years ago that I used to go wheeling in, and fucking, it just gets expensive when you start breaking parts for being fucking stupid. If you're smart about it, if you're stuck, you're stuck. Winch out. Don't fucking, like, be hammering on the gas and everything else. I mean, it's fine, but if you want to build a rig solely for that purpose so that you can beat the shit out of it, that's fine. But if you're going to be using it as a daily driver, on and off road, light trail use, moderate use, the odd time heavy use, whatever, and then you got to keep it within your own budget. Like eventually, if this Dana 35 snaps, most likely I'm probably going to look at in the future of changing out, doing something else like a Ford 8.8 or Dana 44 if I can find one. But for right now, I'm just going to go with it for the way it is. But anyways, let's get going on the garage. Just drink some fucking beer and have fun. That's how it looks with the Skyjacker dual steering stabilizer setup. My aux locker kind of hidden behind the shock. Looks alright. Just gonna install these bad boys now, but I'm not gonna make a video of it because installing mud flaps is pretty straightforward, especially if you buy the OEM Jeep ones. Remove 2 bolts, comes with new longer bolts, put it in, fuck, boom, you're done. Yeah, putting those mud flaps in took about 2 seconds out of my life. Probably the easiest thing I've ever done on this Jeep. It's crazy. Really didn't want to put them on, but this will save me from getting fined by the police because they're really anal on that shit, so gotta have them. Alright, do you know what time it is? It's fucking beer time. That's what time it is. Okay, and now I'm just working underneath now. I'm gonna remove the front drive shaft. But one of the things I hate when I put the lift kit in is, can't see fuck all. It's pretty dark underneath here. Is the transfer case shifter, as you can see there. I don't like the way it is, the way it's all binded up. I'm gonna look at getting a kit that has a cable shifter instead of that setup, because that is retarded. Well, today's Sunday and it's colder than fuck outside, and how many people got up early today to watch the hockey game? It was pretty fucking good. Canada took home gold, fuck yeah. But as always, besides the hockey game, the shit show never fucking stops around here, and it's been something that's been creeping up on me slowly. And I was kind of fucking hoping that wasn't going to happen, but it fucking did happen, so let's go have a look at what I got to do. Well, it's a good thing I keep parts laying around because the thermostat in the BMW is going. It's kind of in a stuck open mode. It doesn't get fully up to temperature at the 12 o'clock position. It stays right around the 10 when you're driving. Gets up to 12 o'clock when you're sitting, and then as soon as you start driving, it cools off. And the biggest thing with these is I replaced this for an aluminum housing. But I kept this around because it was good, and now it seems that the aluminum housing one that was fucking really expensive has failed. But you can't replace the thermostat because it all comes in one unit, so I'm gonna have to figure out when I'm gonna be able to put that in, because the Jeep's sitting in the garage and the 57 Chevy's sitting in the garage. And everybody knows that when you're working on a BMW, especially in the winter time, those plastics are brittle, so I'm gonna have to wait till it gets a little bit warmer and do it outside if it's like above 0, or wait till I can pull the rear drive shaft off the Jeep, and then because my gears don't match between the both axles, and then pull it out, then pull the car in for a few hours, change this thermostat, and then hopefully it's still good, and then do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to deal with it for now, but it is what it is. And of course, the fucking BMW is always gonna be a fucking pain in my ass when I don't need it to be. Okay, I'm going to explain this part to you here. Now this thing kind of swivels. Now I got it in together like a big ball, right? So when you do this section here, it's going to be really hard to do because the U-joint doesn't line up perfectly. So what happens when you go to stick your caps in, one on each side is not going to go in perfectly because it's going to be out. So your needle bearings are going to end up catching a bit, so if you end up tightening them up, it gets really tight. Don't force it because your little needles in there might get damaged and you kind of screwed your U-joint here. But what you got to do is what I did. I didn't get it on the video because I was pissed off and trying to get it into work, is that I'd stick it on top as far as it would end up going, and then what I would do is I would move this thing around and I'd push on the cap. So kind of like that, and eventually once you got it into the right spot, the cap would just drop in, then you can tighten it up. And then the same with this other one here. Once you got it to where as far as it would go to a catch, you just kept on and then it would just snap in. So that's how I ended up doing it. Frustrating little job because this is like one big ball, so trying to get lined up and everything else, and bad camera angles, so but hopefully you can kind of get the gist of it. Well, the front drive shaft is rebuilt now, and except for this one cup here, one little needle bearing kind of fell out and it made its way to the bottom. So when I was pressing it in, it went all the way in, and I was just shy of the clip, and I gave a little turn and cracked the cap and busted the little needle. But unfortunately, the rear drive shaft had the exact same cups. Since I'm getting a new drive shaft for the rear, I just stole the cup, cleaned it out, re-greased it, put it in, and then put it on this side here. So that's going to be good enough for now. Kind of got lucky. Needle bearings were the same size and everything, so bonus. So now let's get this drive shaft back into place. Well, I got the front drive shaft bolted up, but I wish the U-bolts would have been a little bit longer. They're a little on the short side almost, it looks like, but U-joints fitted in there, so not much I can do now. Holy shit, dude, what time it is? It's fucking beer time. I am fucking exhausted. A big rush to get that front drive shaft back in, remove the rear drive shaft, so I can back the Jeep out later this week. Get the car in here so I can change the fucking thermostat. I really didn't want to do that, but unfortunately I need to drive my car in the winter time. It's a lot cheaper jobs than my truck, so I gotta get that fixed so I can have some fucking heat in there. Oh, I'm not very fucking happy, I tell you. But on another note, U-joints tested my fucking patience today. One of the main things, I was in a rush because I wanted to get all this shit done. When you're in a rush, the shit show always happens. So I'm trying to put the drive shaft back in. I'm trying to pop it into fucking place, and the caps kept falling off. The needle bearings kept popping out, and then it's a good thing the rear drive shaft had the exact same U-joints, so the needle bearings were the same length and same size, everything, so I was able to swap them from there. But try not to ever be in a rush, because shit never goes the way you want it to when you're in a rush. But anyways, I'm going to end my video with this. It's late. I got to get shit ready for work tomorrow, but it's fucking beer time. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.